My name is Jake. Now let's talk music. All right. So it is Thursday, September 26th, and I finally got done listening to all of Future's project. Let's just say projects. Um, I announced this video. It was either Friday or Thursday of last week, and I just want to say this has been the longest time that I haven't dropped a video, and it's because it's a longer um discography. Um and with some of the discographies I'm gonna do, it's gonna be like this. And honestly, there wasn't anything truly happening except for one thing, which I probably am gonna make a video about. It's probably gonna come out after this because I've been spending all of my time working on this, which yeah, that's gonna be a whole video dedicated to itself. And everyone knows what I'm talking about. Diddy being arrested. It's honestly the biggest thing like in the news right now that I can think of. I don't watch the news, but musically it's the biggest thing that is happening. Um but I'm not talking about Diddy right now. I'm talking about Future and his full discography, which it's a lot. For somebody who's been making music for over 20 years, I get why there's a lot of mixtapes and a lot of albums, but we only have from like 2011 and up. He's been making music since 2003. That's I think that's the first time that he did something musically like his first song he ever made. And for such a long career, he is he has gotten better at his craft and is one of the best at what he does. I mean, I think he's number 5 all time in streams on I don't know if it's just Spotify, but number 5 all time streaming, I think is what it said. Which that's insane. When you think about some of the world's biggest pop stars and other stars, top 5 of all genres, all artists, I think he might be 6 now because I think maybe The Weeknd overtook him in that. I know the thing that I checked, it's a little outdated. He was number 5 all time, but with The Weeknd dropping the new song and teasing the new album, it might be close. Um, but yeah, that that just is legendary status, and he isn't done. Which one of the projects I'll be talking about in this video is the project that I released last Friday, which was Mixtape Pluto. And that was really the reason why I wanted to do this Discovering Discography video over Future. It felt like the perfect time to line it up with him dropping Mixtape Pluto, but I didn't know that it was going to take this long. It's literally tonight, Tommy Richmond releases his new album. Other than that, I know The Weeknd and Playboy Cardi have a new song that they're releasing. Those are the two things that I really know about what's dropping tonight. But yeah, it's it's insane. But honestly, I'm happy to have this over with because one thing that starts to happen when you do a long discography like this, a lot of songs and albums start to blend together. They start sounding the same, and you just get tired of listening to the same thing over and over. But that's not saying this was anything bad. This is still a great discography. Um, Before coming into this, I have listened to one, two, uh, three, four of the 23 projects. Yeah, just projects. There's albums, mixtapes, collab albums, all of that. Which I'm not going to be doing some of his earliest works like Dirty Sprite. Uh, I think his first mixtape was 30 Day Since. I don't remember fully, but those two I won't be covering because they're not on streaming platforms. I am doing what's on streaming platforms, which let's get to that. The very first album is Astronaut Status. I'm gonna be honest with how many like albums there were. I had to put down a list of like my top songs, and I have like the tier list over here on my phone. So if you see like the light, like right now, that's me looking at the top songs, so I can remember like my talking points for this. Like I said, a lot of work went into actually being able to sit down and finally record this video, and I hope y'all enjoy it. But yeah, astronaut status. Um, for okay, it's not a debut mixtape, but for the first thing that he has on streaming platforms, it isn't terrible, but it's not very enjoyable. It sounds like the worst sounds of the 2010s, like the year 2010, 2011, and it's just not something that I'm going to go back to. I only really could find two songs that I could highlight, which is Birds Take a Bath and No Matter What. Both of those pretty good songs. Um and I rated it in D tier. Like I said, it's not like I can't listen to this, but I will not choose to listen to this. Next up, I'm gonna try and like get this done as quick as I can because there's a lot here and a lot to break down, but I don't want to have a super long video. So yeah, if I'm like moving quicker with my explanations, that's why. Okay, his second project was Pluto. It's suffering from the same thing as Astronaut Status. It's not terrible, but I'm not gonna go out of my way to listen to this. Except for one song, which I get it. It's I'm just gonna say the song Parachute, and it's featuring R. Kelly. I know R. Kelly is a bad person, but his music is still amazing. He is a horrible person. I do not condone anything he does. Same thing as Diddy, Kanye. I love Kanye music, but I will never be behind what he said during his anti Semitic era. I do not condone those messages. But sitting here listening to them musically, their music is amazing. R. Kelly has amazing vocals, and it's just an enjoyable song. The other song I had was Same Damn Time. Like I said, nothing special, but I'm not gonna be like, oh, I can't listen to this ever. If I hear someone turning it on, I'm like, whatever, I'll sit and listen to it. But I'm not gonna go out of my way to turn it on. Okay, next up is his first actual album. Yeah, first album. Ugh, sorry, Honest, which I I've heard good things about this, but me sitting listening to it, it's uh, like that's the best way I can describe it. It's like meh. there's some good parts, but there's also a lot of questionable things. Uh, yeah. And- yeah, that's all I can really say about this. It's like very questionable, but for his debut album, it's not bad. I personally have it in C. It's it's just it's nothing that I'm wooed by. My top three songs are T-shirt, Move That Dope, which Move That Dope is amazing. Pusha T and Pharrell Williams do their thing on that, and also Future. And number three is My Mama. Honestly, those are some solid songs, but overall, it's just a meh album. Next up, we get to our first good project. It's Monster. Um, I think this is his second album. Yes, it's his second album, not a mixtape. And let me just say, this this is some heat. At first, I wasn't messing with it with the first two songs. It was weird. Like honestly, just the start of Radical threw me off, and I wasn't a fan with it. I also didn't really like the name track Monster. It's a little weird. But then I got to the third song and I was like, okay, he's cooking here. It's called Throwaway. I almost forgot that, but Throwaway. What it is, it's like a two-part song. It's like two songs in one, where the first part starts off in one beat and the second part is another beat, and it's really good. At the time, him and his girlfriend, I think they were gonna get married, Ciara. They broke up before this album came out, and you could tell that after that, something changed within Future. Like, I don't know. It's like he became more darker in his music, and this is where we get the misogynistic Future. People say he's a misogynist towards women. I'm not gonna say anything on the matter. I'm not a woman, and I'm not offended by his music. If other people are, then fine. But for me, I don't take it that way. I just listen to the music. Um, yeah, Monster. It's a it's a good album. I have it in A, but it's on the cusp of being B because of the shaky start. But my top songs, like I said earlier, Throwaway, I got Fetty, and of course, Codeine Crazy. Everyone knows Codeine Crazy. It's one of his top songs. Sorry. Next up, Beast Mode. This is a mixtape that he did with the producer Zaytoven, and upcoming there's a sequel. I don't know what they say with albums, but there's Beast Mode 2 with Zaytoven. It's the same thing. This was pretty good. I have it in B. It's pretty good. It's kind of short. I think it's only 8 songs if I can remember right. Uh, I get it for a mixtape if it's shorter. That's a lot of these albums are shorter track lists because they are mixtapes. But yeah, like I said in a video before this, I prefer a longer album. But um, yeah, it's in B tier. It's a solid mixtape. My favorite songs were Pico, Forever Eva, and Ooh, which Young Scooter does really good on Ooh. But yeah. Next up we have 56 Nights, which I also have in B tier. Um, it's it's pretty good. Also short, and It has one of Future's top songs ever in March Madness. It's it's a pretty good mixtape, but like I said, it's short and doesn't give too much. Um, Top songs I have obviously March Madness, Never Gonna Lose, and No Compadre. Yeah, it's solid, but I just like I said, wish for longer albums and mixtapes. Next up we have DS2, which this is seen by everyone as his best album, and I can see why. It's an amazing album and truly a great piece of work by Future. Personally, I have it in A, but that takes nothing away from the album itself. It's really good. It's called DS2 because it's the sequel to Dirty Sprite, the mixtape I was talking about. It's Dirty Sprite 2, but yeah, it's solid. No, not solid. It's great. God. Um yeah, I really liked it. There's a lot of some of his most famous songs on there, like Where You At, Thought It Was a Drought, Fuck Up Some Commas, and those are my top three. I mean, I could have went with lesser known ones, but I truly went with what I liked the most. That's what I do with all of these. And uh, all right, next up is What a Time to Be Alive, which I covered this when I did Drake's discography. Great collab album. I have it in A tier. Nothing's changed there. But yeah, it. I've literally talked about this before, and it's the same top three songs. I still listen to it again, but nothing really changed for me. It's still a great album. Top three songs: Scholarships, Jumpman, Big Rings. Nothing changed really. Next up. Oh, actually, before I do that, I want to talk about these last four albums. Now, think about these four albums and then think about he did all of those four in the year 2015. That is one of the best years of music and hip hop foreign artists, and he dropped some amazing albums. I mean, to me, I think the worst thing he put out was 56 Nights, and that's in B tier. Which, when I show the tier list at the end, I have it in specific order of what I think is best in that tier. And it's in the bottom half of B for me, but it's still great. But yeah, 2015 was a great run by Future. Probably the best artist of that year. And yeah, just a great year for trap music and Future. Um, Next up is Purple Rain. Uh, okay, yeah, Purple Rain. I remember. Um, Nothing exciting. Like, I think I'm just doing these off of first listens. I think the problem is I went from listening to those four albums and then I get something like this and it's like this sucks compared to these. Like, you were on an amazing run and then once you get into 2016 you make this. Like, what's going on? And maybe I'm a little too harsh on it, but to me, it's D tier. It could creep into C tier, but I feel like it's D tier because I couldn't even come up with three top songs. I only have two, which is Drippin', How You Live That, and News or Something. Which, let me say, News or Something, heat. That's that's probably the only reason it's not going into F for me because with only one good song to talk about, I can't see how I can keep it out of F. If I literally can only, if I can't even come up with one, which there's only one album where I haven't found a single song that I liked in any way, shape, or form, then there's a problem. You should have just never dropped that. But yeah, Purple Rain just wasn't for me. Next up is Evil, which before I get into like ranking the actual album, I just want to say this is like one of my favorite album covers ever. It's and the craziest thing is it's like a stock image. Same with DS2. DS2 was a stock image and it's one of the favorite rap album covers ever. But to me, Evil has the best cover. It's it's amazing. But when we start talking about the music, it's a good album. I wouldn't say great or meh. I have it in B tier. I have a lot of B tier albums and like his discography. But it has one of my favorite songs in Low Life. Uh, Great song with The Weekend. Speaking of my top three songs, number one, Low Life. Number two, Ain't No Time, and number three, Seven Rings. I mean, I feel like he could have done better, but it was still a good album. Okay, next up is self-titled Future. Uh, Great. It's on the cusp of being A, but I feel like Monster is in a different category than Future, which I have Future in B. It's at the very top of B. I don't blame people if they put it A, but it was a little shaky at the start, but as it went on, it got better. Number one, my top three songs. Number one is Mask Off, obviously, one of his most famous songs. Number two, Rent Money, and three, Might As Well. Like I said, great album. Almost A, but not quite. Then we had, I think what he did with this, he waited, it was either 1 week or 2 weeks, and then he dropped Hendrix right after dropping Future, which I would say Hendrix is not as good as Future, but still in the same tier. They're close. I still have it B. Um, Honestly, it's really good. He goes into more melodic sound on Hendrix, and it's really good. My top three songs, obviously Solo. Number two, My Collection. Number three, Keep Quiet. Great, great album. Up next, I have his second collab album, which was with Young Thug, Super Slimy. When you think of the names Future and Young Thug, you're thinking, oh, this is gonna be amazing. They're making a full collab album. And honestly, it's just a letdown. Like, I don't know. It's just, it's meh. But when you think of those names, you think it's gonna be something like What a Time to Be Alive. It just wasn't. There were a couple of solid songs, but I have it in C tier. It's close to D tier, but it's good enough to make it into C tier. I have three top songs: No Cap, Paddock Water, and For the Gang. Honestly, just a letdown. I feel like with two superstars like that, you have to make a great album, but you didn't. Next up, Beast Mode 2. I was talking about this earlier. Zaytoven produced it. Great album. I wouldn't say it's as good as the first Beast Mode, but it's still solid. I have it in B tier. My top three songs are Wi-Fi Lit, Color My Wrist, and 31 Days. All of them great. Um, just overall, It's it's solid. Nothing that I'm like, oh, I can't listen to this. Okay. Next up, World on Drugs. One second. All right. We talked about this before. It's a collab album between Future and Juice World. When I did Juice World's discography, I covered this album. Only thing is, when I think of Future's discography, it feels like it's wrong to have this in B because towards Future's discography, this is a letdown because Future himself got carried on this album, which it might be crazy to think with such a great artist and he's getting paired with one of the youngest in the game at that time. He only had one album out, but overall, it's just kind of a letdown when you think of Future. And now, when you think of Juice World, it's kind of a letdown. But I moved it to C. It's at the top of C. I just feel like those two together could have done better, but still Juice World carried. Same top three songs: Jet Lag, Fine China, and Hard Work Pays Off. I did really like Reeler and Reeler when I was listening to it again. First time I was like, yeah, but Reeler and Reeler is really good. Okay, next up, The Wizard. Meh. That's all I can say about this. Meh. I just feel like we're getting at a point where you had such a good run early on in your career. Now you're just like slowing down, and it's uh, I don't know. Maybe I'm just too harsh, but I feel like from what I had heard up to this point, I feel like you could have done so much better. It just blends in with everything else. There's nothing special to say about this album. It's just a lot of the songs sound the same at a certain point, which I still have a top three songs. It's in C tier. It's just I don't know. Nothing wooed me. Number one, I have Never Stop. Number two, Talk Shit Like a Preacher, and number three, Promise You That. It, I don't know. It's just it feels like he could have done better. All right, next up is his project Save Me. Oh my god! Thank God this thing is only like 20 minutes long. This is so shit. I I I didn't want to listen to this. I really didn't. Um, yeah. There's only like one good thing about this album, and it's the song "Please Tell Me." It it just felt like a waste of my time listening to this. It really did. Yeah, it's an F tier for an obvious reason. It's just not good. All right. Next up is his album High Off Life. After listening to Save Me and The Wizard, this was a breath of fresh air. It really was. High Off Life, I have it in A tier. It's really good and has one of the best features songs uh on the like in his career recently. With the song Life is Good featuring Drake. Great work by both. And I love the beat switch when it gets to Future's part. They did great on that. The other two songs that I have in my top three is Trapped in the Sun, really good, and Solitaires, also really good. All right, next up. Pluto X Baby Pluto. Um, when you think of the names Lil Uzi Vert and Future, you think you're gonna get something good. Didn't happen here. I have this in D tier. It's just a letdown, the same as Super Slimy and World on Drugs. Like I don't know. I just don't like it. My top three songs: "Drinking and Smoking," "Real Baby Pluto," and "Off That." Other than that, I don't really have anything else to say about this project. It's just it sucked. Okay, up next, we're down to the last four. Thank God. Um, I never liked you. Let me just say, we were on a run where there was a lot of bad music. Then he comes out with, to me, his best album. I Never Liked You was something that I had listened to before doing a full discography, and it was amazing. I listened to it again to do this. It got even better for me. There's only like three songs that I'm iffy about, but only one is truly bad. The other two, um, even though I love Kanye West, he has a horrible verse on I forget the name of it. It's like the third song on the album. It just sucked. And then on Voodoo, him and Kodak Black, it's just weird subject matter on the song. Not a fan of that, but other than that, it's amazing. Top three, Puffin' on Zooties, one of his best songs ever. Number two, Wait for You, and number three, Worst Day. All these amazing songs. All right, up next, we're finally in the year 2024 listening to future albums. First one is his collab album with Metro Boomin, which is We Don't Trust You. Another S album here. This, I wouldn't say this is the best album of the year because there's one other one that I would put ahead of it, but yeah, this is amazing. And it sparked one of the like biggest moments of this year when Kendrick featured on Like That, and then we have the Drake versus Kendrick beef, which that is really, but yeah, it truly was an amazing album. Top three songs, of course, Like That. Number two, Everyday Hustle with Rick Ross, great song. And then number three, the intro, We Don't Trust You, really good. Um, Next up, We Still Don't Trust You. The next collab album that he did with Metro Boomin, quality went down. It it just felt like this wasn't a necessary album. I feel like you said what you wanted to say on the first album, and then you made this, and didn't really do all too much. But yeah, it's B tier at the bottom of B tier. Yeah, it's just not that good. Well, it's good, but compared to the other albums, not that good. Top three songs: "Drink and Dance," "All My Life," and "Red Leather." That J. Cole verse is heat. Uh, Next up, his uh project that he literally dropped Friday, mixtape Pluto. Um, Mixtape Pluto is good, but I do have him to play with it. You are rumoring that there's going to be a Travis Scott feature and a Playboy Cardi feature. Then when you drop the album, there's no features at all. Like no features on an album just makes an album just start to all sound the same sometimes. Let me just say sometimes. And it turns into something that's not very good. But that's the opposite on this album. You are still locked in, and there's different ways that he sounds on this album. He experiments with different sounds during this album, which really keeps you like glued to the music. And he has some really great rapping performances on here, which top 3 songs are like some of his best rap performances in a while, in my opinion. And also some great beat. Number 1, Teflon Don, great song. Great way to like introduce the album to people. Number 2, South of France. I haven't heard the like Travis Scott feature, but I think this is a song that had the Travis Scott feature supposedly. Either way, it's still a great song. And number 3, Oath, great song. So yeah, that's the full future discography. 23 project. Uh Overall, I am a Future fan. I love Future's music, and he deserves like all the streams and everything that he gets for his music. Um, I see why people have him as their goat, but at the same time, there is like a problem with consistency at the later part of his career, but still, there's some great albums mixed in. Um, yeah, it, it's a great discography. Anyways, there are a couple of lower tiered albums, but overall, still a great discography. I don't know what my next video is gonna be about. I'm gonna try and figure that out. But yeah, if you like the video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell to stay up to date with all of my videos. Uh, I drop videos like randomly, so best way to know when I'm gonna drop is to have the bell notification on. But yeah, until next time, peace.